for the invite, and thank you all for coming here. It's lovely to be here in Toronto and wonderful to be able to speak to so many people who are interested in the power of nutrition. It was an amazing experience to listen to Dr. Jenkins, Dr. Shobha Ganguly, and Dr. Shanes William. And can we have a big round of applause for Dr. Zara and Shirin Hassan for organizing?
See, plant-based nutrition, can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah.
Plant-based nutrition works. In fact, it works better than medicine and surgery for treating most of our chronic diseases. Since childhood, I saw my dad struggle with diabetes, high blood pressure, and high cholesterol. 4 years ago, he started having short circuit. And his test showed that he had 90% blockages in 2 out of the 3 main blood vessels that supply the heart. One cardiologist said he needs to have stents, and another cardiologist said he needs to have bypass surgery. These are very risky procedures, and he was told that he needs to have them within a week. That was a very tough time for my family. I asked my dad, when my dad shared the news of his heart vessels being blocked, I felt as though mine had been broken. I asked him, instead of having your chest cut open, why don't you open your mouth and put different plant-based foods? He thought I was crazy. He didn't think it was going to work, but he decided to try it. 2 weeks later, he walked longer distances with no short supply. And his blood sugar control was so good that his doctor had to cut his diabetic pills by 50%. 3 months later, he came off of 5 different medications that he was taking for over 25 years. 6 months later, he finished the heart treadmill stress test that he could not finish before. No stents, no bypass surgery. This happened 4 years ago, and he's doing very well. You see, our bodies are perfectly programmed for self-healing. All we have to do is to provide the right conditions. And the plant-based foods, they create such a healing environment in us that we can easily reverse disease.
Yes, plant-based nutrition is powerful, but our current system is not set up to deliver this life-saving therapy. Even though we call it as a health care model, in fact, what we have is a sickness care model. We mostly manage symptoms and complications using pills and procedures without addressing the underlying cause, which is mostly diet and lifestyle related. There are many challenges for the physicians and patients to embrace this therapy. To understand the challenges that our patients face, let me share some of the things that I commonly hear from my patients. They're like, I'm confused what to eat, doctor. All my life, I grew up drinking milk thinking I need calcium for my bones. I thought meat is a good source of protein, and now you're telling me not to eat meat because it may increase my chance of having colon cancer. You're asking me to give up dairy as it may weaken my bone. You're asking me to give up the foods that I grew up with and eat the foods that I always avoided. I was afraid to eat carbs thinking that it would make me fat or make my diabetes worse. You are asking me to eat brown rice, potatoes, and fruits, while my other doctor and dietitians are telling me to limit carbs and increase my protein intake so that I can regulate my numbers. Whom should I trust? Whom should I believe? Let's say even if I listen to you, I don't know where to start. I don't know what to cook for breakfast, lunch, and supper without using dairy, milk, and oil. And even if I learn to cook this way, my husband is not going to eat. He loves his pork chops, chicken, cheese, bacon, eggs. My kids are picky eaters. And my mother-in-law, she thinks I don't know how to cook, and she doesn't like what I cook. All day long, I'm so busy at my work, taking care of other people, and when I come home, I don't have time to cook 3 different meals. I'm so stressed. And at the end of the day, I like to treat myself with cookies, chips, chocolate. But I've been trying so hard to control my cravings, and you're telling me whatever I'm doing is not enough? Has anybody experienced this?
See, I was there. This was me on my way a few years ago when I was training to become a surgeon. I was 220 pounds, and this was my jeans. See, working long hours and stress was at max, and food was a big source of comfort. And the food in the hospital cafeteria was free for the doctors in training, so it was very convenient to eat in the hospital cafeteria. So I ate like everyone else. Western omelette for breakfast with ham and cheese, turkey or chicken sandwich for lunch, or some form of chicken or rice for supper. And my weight just ballooned to 220 pounds. And not just the weight, I also struggled with low energy. I didn't realize that the food choices I was making and the extra weight I was carrying contributing to low energy and stress. I was extremely fortunate to have come across plant-based diet with forks over knives. Since then, after I changed the diet, I've lost over 80 pounds. The weight just kept on falling off. And it's not just losing weight. It also decreased helped me overcome the emotional eating part and how to manage the stress better. Overall, the whole journey made me a better person, better husband, better father, and a better doctor. As Shobha mentioned, there are so many challenges to deliver this for the patient-wise, but there are also many challenges for the physicians. Let me share a typical day at my office. I have 30 to 35 patients to see, and I have 10 to 15 minutes per patient. And many of my patients are very sick. These are 5 to 6 health conditions. In those 10 to 15 minutes, which concern am I going to address? And it's not 10 to 15 minutes is not enough to undo a lifetime of habits. And on top of that, the doctors are not taught about food. We had 13 subjects in medical school. To graduate, we have to do 13 subjects: anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, pharmacology, microbiology, pathology, forensic medicine, ENT, ophthalmology, community medicine, internal medicine, general surgery, obstetrics, and gynecology. 13 subjects, but we didn't have a subject called nutrition. We spent over 6,000 hours learning about how to use drugs and surgeries to treat the conditions, but not even 6 hours in how to use food as medicine. It might be quite shocking for you, many of you, but that's the reality of the situation. And another thing to add to that is we are also not taught how to counsel patients effectively. And it takes a lot of skill to ask the patient to change their habits. Then let's take a look at the payment system. I could do a colonoscopy and take out a few polyps. I can easily make $600 or more. But if I spend the same amount of time in the clinic counseling a patient, I may barely get $60 or $70. So I'm getting out of the residency training, and I'm eager to start my practice, and I have a gazillion-dollar debt from the medical school residency, And on top of that, I have to cover the administrative costs, support the staff, and have to earn enough money to support the family and all. So if our payment system is set up like this, and you have the financial burden on you, which way you will lean towards? Another challenge is we don't have support. In my hospital, we have 20 doctors, but we have 1 dietitian, right? And that's the support. We need support staff. Then another challenge we have is, most of the doctors are the healthcare providers are addicted to the same foods that are making a patient sick. You can walk out of my clinic and walk to the cafeteria and buy the same foods that the foods that are responsible for patients coming to the hospital. Then the biases the physicians and the providers carry. We all have our own bias. One of the limiting bias is that our patients can't change. Our patients cannot sustain a change, and this bias limits our ability to deliver this information. On top of this, I had another challenge. We were practicing on the rock. So some of you don't know, it's called rock. Newfoundland is also called rock. We were in the rural Newfoundland, where the burden of disease is very high. Newfoundland, in fact, is #1 compared to all the provinces when it comes to diabetes, heart disease, obesity, breast cancer, colon cancer. And 50% of my work was involved doing gastroenterology, so I was seeing patients with acid reflux and constipation and hemorrhoids and irritable bowels. And I felt like no matter how many procedures I did and how much medications I gave, I didn't feel like I was doing enough to address the cause of the problem. I was getting frustrated.
As you can see, there are a lot of struggles for the physicians and patients to embrace this. Like, we are in this together. And if we want to bring plant-based therapy to mainstream, we have to address the challenges of both the physicians and patients. So we created a model where most of these challenges could be addressed. So in Gift of Health model, we educate, empower, and create a supportive environment for that change to happen. So people are with us for 3 days in a group setting. So over those 3 days, we clear the confusion about what is healthy to eat. We educate them about the food, body, mind. We also empower them with the skills of how to cook, how to shop, how to read a nutrition label, how to deal with troublesome cravings, and how to deal with friends and family members who roll their eyes when we started on the plant-based journey. We also feed people for those 3 days in a buffet style. People get to taste 60 different varieties, plant-based versions of their favorite food. We also created a support system because we realized like doing workshop is one thing, but the real work happens after the workshop. So we built multiple layers of support within the community. So each one of them is in a secret Facebook group where they can share their challenges, the recipes, and they can also encourage other people. And even each one gets to see us one-on-one after 1 month of the workshop. We also hold weekly support group meetings and weekly Facebook Lives where we share new recipes, and we also address the challenges of the participants. In addition to that, we also let them experience the connection with food. Because then they get to see the food that we eat, which is good for us, is also good for the planet. And the other thing is, which, we recognize like support system is such a great thing. So everyone is assigned a mentor. And this mentor is a person who has successfully transitioned to plant-based journey. And with this, we have seen wonderful results. Like many of our participants are undergoing a lot of transformation, like people reversing diabetes, losing weight, and getting rid of their arthritis, and a lot of things. So using this model, so far we have seen 300 people. And among these 300 people, like 75% were women, and we had people from ages 21 years to 82 years. And most of these people were local. We had 10% of people coming from outside, from different provinces, and also from other countries. So we had people from Montreal, Ontario, Seattle, Chicago, Florida. And The other thing what we noticed is, like among the 300 people, we had 112 people with high blood pressure, 96 people with acid reflux, 87 people who had arthritis, and 75 people with high cholesterol, 73 people with gut issues, so mostly with irritable bowels, inflammatory bowels, gallstones, other gut issues, and we had 44 people who had diabetes, 12 people with heart disease, 6 people with cancer. We also had people who had no issues, no health issues, so who basically came for preventive aspect. So what we did is we collected dietary history, detailed dietary history before and after the workshop. We also used 4-leaf survey form to track their intake. And the interesting thing that we found was, like, I mean, we knew as Newfoundlanders this would be their food habits, but it was also quite shocking to see that 67% of the people were not even getting the daily required serving of 3 to 5 servings of fruits and vegetables. And 10% of the people had 0 servings of fruits and vegetables. So with that, so when people came before the workshop, only 33% of the people were having the required serving of vegetables, and after the workshop, it increased to 75%. The same thing with vegetables, we observed the consumption almost double. It went to 80%, and coming to whole grain consumption, it went up from 34 to 68%. And the other thing is, when people came to the workshop, they said, these are the 3 things it's very difficult for me to give up. I cannot give up my cheese, meat, and chips. So it was also quite interesting, just with 3 days of intervention, the daily consumption actually went from 82% to 8%. And when it came to egg consumption, it went down to 9%. And especially for people who thought who would never be able to give up cheese, their consumption actually went down from 82 to 8%, which was quite drastic. And coming to the junk food consumption, it went down from 95 to 32%. So while this was, and of course, as Newfoundlanders, we love our meat, fish. So that, yes, I know.
6 to 16%.
Yeah, so actually it went down from 86 to 16%.
Even fish.
Even
See, when we started doing these workshops, we were initially focused on helping people with diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, to help people lose weight. Those things got better. We have like several examples, and we are still putting the data together. But what 2 conditions that really caught our attention were acid reflux. We had 96 people with acid reflux, and after this 3-day intervention, 0, like none of them have acid reflux. And 90, like all of them were able to give up their medications for acid reflux. And it's a huge industry, $10 billion industry, acid reflux. And then when you look at the other thing is arthritis, right? 80% of the people either reversed their completely arthritis or improved arthritis. These are 2 conditions. And we thought of changing our program to, people may not be worried about cancer, but acid reflux and arthritis, I think we should focus on that. Anyone interested in doing more of this plant-based stuff, just, you can improve this, because these things you can show tangible results very quickly.
But these are the changes we saw in the patients. There were a lot of changes in the community too.
To give them an idea, what's the community about, let's see if this plays.
That's beautiful.
Okay, just press that, yeah. We couldn't take you to Buren, but we thought we'll give you a bird eye of, this is the community we are in.
Beautiful desolation.
It's a bird's eye view, yes.
As you can see, there are no traffic lights.
And the only time I get in a traffic jam is when I get behind school bus, so I'm yeah. So the thing is, but the changes, the community, when the more number of examples changed in the community and the consumers started demanding it, the community, even the local businesses changed. That you can walk into Extreme Pita, it's just a small pita place, and they have plant-based options at Extreme Pita. And then Pizza Delight, it's an Italian place. They added a new button in their kitchen, in their counter, which shows no dairy. Yeah, this is not available even in the St. John's, but it's available here. And Tim Hortons.
Yes.
Tim Hortons started making drinks with soy milk and almond milk, which you can't even get in the main city in St. John's. And so there is a honorary ceremony in Newfoundland. It's called a screeching ceremony.
It's a Newfoundland culture.
Newfoundland culture.
They changed their culture to plant-based screeching.
Yeah, see,
usually they kiss the car. They made us kiss the cabbage.
So cabbage is good. See, right away I'm kissing the cabbage. So, and also the changes also happened in the community as well, and in the hospital as well. Like initially when I started doing it, the family docs were very skeptical. We have like 8 family doctors in the community who were, half of them were actually telling their patients it may not be a good idea to eat this way, but now they are sending patients because they're seeing their patients coming and results. So, and with that, even we had changes in the hospital, which is an uphill battle. There's still a lot of work to be done. I recently had a patient. Is it okay if I show some gory pictures of surgery? It's okay. This is a patient who had gangrene of the heel. This is a foot, diabetic foot, like what you see is the heel, where I came with a septic infection. I had to debride it, and you could almost put a heel in the, fist in the heel. And we sent him for an opinion from a plastic, from an orthopedic surgeon and a plastic surgeon in St. John's, which is 3 hours away. They saw him and they said right away, it needs to be amputated. There's no point it's going to heal. And this is a young patient, 52 years old. And I showed him folk silver knives while he was in the hospital. And I spoke to kitchen cafeteria. This patient is willing. He wants to try plant-based way of eating. And he stayed in the hospital in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, we got him off of, he was on 60 units of insulin. He came off of that. And his kidney function also much improved, because when he came to the hospital, the nephrologist said, prepare his arm to put a fistula to prepare him for dialysis. But by the time when he left the hospital in 14 days, his kidney function improved by 200%. So this is a few months later, that's his foot.
So while those were the changes in the hospital, we also had changes in the school. So they started showing folk silver knives to high school students, and also thought of including some health education in the curriculum. So I was surprised, even the principal of the schools, they were a little bit open. I mean, this wouldn't happen 4 years back, but now they're a little bit open.
And the local school who had like a cooking class, they started incorporating more plant-based recipes, and they wanted to come and speak to the cooking students to teach like how to, so that during the cooking school they can learn this eating.
And we have a cooking college. Earlier, they just used to teach people how to cook in the culinary school, but this year they are also teaching them how to cook plant-based without oil. So,
as you can see, there are challenges. Yeah, and some of you will be wondering, okay, this all sounds good, where do I start? And that's the issue we had, like when we first came across this through folk silver knives, this all sounds good, but where do I start? We see that there are two groups of audience here. If you are a healthcare provider, then we would suggest educate more, immerse yourself more, and we enrolled in a plant-based nutrition certification course through Cornell. We did the McDougall Star Solution certification course, and we also went and observed see, one thing is, it works okay in clinic setting one-on-one, but we found that there is a power in the group. Like if you can get them into a group setting, but we are not taught how to do this in a group setting. So we went and observed and hung out with the legends. Like when Shane did that, Dr. Williams did that immersion program in Dominican, we went there and observed, and it was a great learning experience. And we hung out with like the legends, like Dr. Esselstein, Dr. Colin Campbell. We went and observed what they're doing. These people have 40, 45 years of experience. We went and watched what Dr. McDougall was doing. So education, how to do this in a group setting. And the third thing is practicing self-care. We also need to put ourselves first so that we can take better care of our patients. Our patients are always watching us. And does anyone know the meaning of the word doctor? Teacher, yeah. The word doctor comes from the Latin word docere. Docere means to teach. See, essentially, our job is not to pull out a prescription pad and write something or prescribe surgery, but our job is to guide the patient, be a champion for their health. So we realize that their lives is dependent upon how we are. So we have to live what we, live the change that we want to see in our patients. Then if you see our...
So that's for the healthcare professionals. But if you are a healthcare consumer, there are a lot of things you can do as well. Same thing, you can educate yourself. You can watch documentaries like Forks Over Knives, Cowspiracy. And also there are a lot of sites, and also going to nutritionfacts.org and learning about the research behind it. But what I would say is, for the common man, it's not about the willpower, it's about skill power. It's all about how you can get those skills to make this lifestyle change. And when you immerse yourself either in lifestyle immersion programs or in a group setting, that works better, and you are in a fast track when you want to do that lifestyle change, so that really helps. And for us, what we felt was, while that is the thing, while we can educate ourselves, we can empower with skills and get the support, we can be healthy, because health is abundant. When we are healthy, like, we have the clarity to do the things that we like with the people that matter to us. And that's how we want to live.
And our wish for you is that you get to live your health, life with full health and happiness, and you have the energy, you're productive at your work, and you are so healthy that you stay out of the hospitals and clinics and put the sickness care model out of business. Why you guys in Toronto shouldn't be able to do it.